through kind of the Big Read overview to share a little bit about the initiative and our participation in it. We definitely want to give you some actual book ideas. As you can see, we have some of the lovely books on display. These will all be featured in your toolkit that we'll talk about a little later as well. And then we'd love to answer any questions that you may have, as James mentioned on the text slide, to go ahead and make sure that you chat in your questions. You can put them in the box, and we can try to answer them periodically throughout the presentation. And we want to make sure that we get all the information, the correct information for you during this webinar. Thanks again for your patience. We appreciate everyone who's on board. And we're going to go ahead and get started. The Big Read is an initiative from the NEA that is the National Endowment for the Arts. And it is designed to restore reading to the center of American culture. And that just aligned perfectly with what we wanted to do here at Big Thought and Thriving Minds. The Big Read Dallas gratefully was able to receive resources from the NEA in a grant that supported a citywide effort. And so that's what we're excited about this year. We're working with the Dallas Public Library. We've met with the Friends of the Library. And so the Big Read Dallas will conduct dozens of special events throughout the city, all around the book Fahrenheit 451. This book we'll talk a little bit more about. It's a very interesting book. It is for higher level students, secondary, high school students. So we adopted and adapted a lot of material to focus on some of our other target audiences that we know many of you serve. If you want to know more information about the Big Read Dallas, the website is also included on the slide. So our team got together and really started thinking about how do we support the Big Read Dallas and the NEA's Big Read initiative. And we said, you know what, spring break is a time where many of us take off because we don't necessarily work. Some centers that are in our communities actually close, and many kids throughout other parts of our city actually take vacations around different global, international locations that have all these wonderful learning experiences. But we realize that a lot of kids in our communities don't. Parents are trying to figure out child care situations. Kids often may be at home during that time. And is that a time that we could extend some programming that Mary designed very well in 2 years around spring break for middle schoolers and offer it as a support role to some community partners? And we did get a resounding yes. So many of you have already visited with our staff. We had conversations around what could be, and we're very excited that many of you said yes. Some of you are opening up your doors that week. You had it closed. You weren't planning on doing programming, but you decided to extend the invitation. We very much appreciate it. Some of you are doing programming, and the Big Read initiative and the I Love to Read components that we'll talk about today, I think could support what you would like to do for your kids and families more. Just to give you a little update, we have about 20 sites that are supporting this initiative with us. We are expecting over 1,000 students and parents and families to be part of half-day program, all-day programming throughout the week, which is March 11th through the 15th. So there's three main components that the team has really worked to make sure that our site has as far as resources. Curriculum and content support. We are creating a toolkit that will be available to all of our sites, and the actual books. The main feature of many of these activities are the actual books themselves. And so each site will receive books that support the themes around Fahrenheit 451. So curriculum, we have created two real major educational materials that support the Fahrenheit 451 book. And it, again, is geared a little more for high school students. It's a great educator's guide for anyone who really would like to extend activities around that. The other piece that we're working on is an educator's guide more geared to younger kids, elementary and middle school age kids, that will be featured around other books that we're recommending and we'll talk about in a little bit. So we have two major pieces of curriculum and content that will be available to you to extend the activities and the themes around the books that we're supporting. And we also have some take-home materials for parents. We thought it was really important for parents to know what their kids possibly were doing during that week, and how in reading basically and literacy connections are very important. So we have some materials that can support your take-home needs. The toolkit itself will be really your kind of lifeline to produce your week, your day, or half-day programming. We'll have a poster of Ray Bradbury, who's the author of Fahrenheit 451, and a little bio. We think it's important that students and families know about Ray Bradbury's life, his history, and a nice display that you can showcase at each of your sites. We have some book bags that we'll be able to make available to you that will have the I Love to Read logos on them and that every family could take with their books. We also have vocabulary words that we have made very colorful and that could be highlighted and showcased around your building. Some could be pasted on walls. Some you may want to use at table tents. But we picked out about 12 real strong vocabulary words that really overlaid a lot of the books that we featured. So we think reinforcing of vocabulary is important. Kids will have the ability to take some home, make flashcards, and maybe even do more extension activities at home. So that is some items that will actually be in the toolkit. The books themselves, as well as some tools and templates that will be on a jump drive. We think it's important that people should be recognized, so we have a sample certificate of participation that you can offer to participants who come. We have some recommended enrollment forms, sign-in sheets. We just think it's really important that you collect who attended your event. And we also will have both of them, like I mentioned, on the jump drive to make it accessible for you to print at any time. The material, as far as the educator side, in the content and curriculum, we will have printed copies available. Most of them we are going to also include online and on the jump drive for you to print down as well. And then the books, which is the feature that we really want to spend some time on right now. The books that we recommended are, again, aligned with the Fahrenheit 451 theme, but they are targeted for all appropriate ages. So early elementary students will receive the Rocket book. The other books that we have are Wings by Christopher Myers, which is a really very visual, illustrative book that we're really excited about. The other book for middle school students is The Last Book in the Universe. That is a great read for middle schoolers that we think will support many people who are working with some of the older kids that week. And then, of course, Fahrenheit 51. There are some sites who are going to work with high schoolers, and the Fahrenheit 451 book is what we're also recommending. I'd love to bring Ms. Mary Hernandez up. She could talk a little bit more about the extension and the book ideas, as she's really been instrumental in helping shape a lot of our literacy connections.
Thank you very much, Erin. I do want to acknowledge Elva Perez, who is our Library Live representative, and has really helped shape some of these and selected some of these books as well. I'm going to be talking about two of the books, How Rocket Learned to Read and Wings. And I do want to share with you is that these books were really carefully selected, and carefully selected across the themes of conformity and individuality. And so those are the things we really want to concentrate on, but know that depending on your audience, depending on the developmental age of your children, the vocabulary that you need to use with them. And I want to highlight a little bit of Wings, which is written by Christopher Meyer. And maybe some of you know Christopher Meyer is the son of Walter Dean Myers, who is a young adult fiction author who is just amazing. But I wanted to share a quote that Christopher Meyer had. He says of his grandfather, "He was a storyteller. His thick, dark, callous hands told stories. My father tells stories, I tell stories. My grandfather always laughed at my father's hands because they were so soft. But I think he was proud of the fact that my father didn't have to work with his back. This is progress." He really loved the importance of images as he studied throughout his career. And he really looked at pictures and objects because that his parents would bring home from the flea markets and auctions. And he would call them little histories. And as you see the illustrations in Wings, you'll see how he's taken different types of objects and really formulated a beautiful story. For those who are not familiar with Wings, it is a story about Icarius Jackson, who's a new boy in town. He's a little bit different. He has wings and he has an ability to fly. He is made fun of at school because he is different. He always tries to fit in, but even teachers and police officers tell him that he has no business flying and he needs to get out of the way because his wings always get in the way. Well, there is a young lady, a young friend who does befriend him and really fights for him and tells him that he is wonderful because he does know how to fly. And so together they formed a really wonderful friendship that helps them both feel confident and have pride in their individuality. Just some of the activities with Wings is to create wings. And in your little toolkit packet that you'll have on your jump drive is one in which children can make wings out of paper plates. But you can make wings out of a variety of different ways. And so we took some poster boards, and we cut it in the shape of a wing, and we put coffee filters to use sort of as feathers. You can put a Velcro siding in the very back, and attach one to the top T-shirt, and the other Velcro piece to the poster board. And that's just one of the activities with wings. When you notice the illustration by Christopher Myers, he uses a collage form, and that's something that you could certainly do with your children. When you look at the book, you notice that Icarus has different types of shoes. Sometimes they match, sometimes they don't, and so that's what really makes them individual and doesn't conform to the way everyone else wears the shoes. This is a beautifully illustrated book. We love this book, and we're so happy and thrilled to bring it to you and to the children throughout the whole Dallas community. Now, for our younger kids, How Rocket Learns to Read by Tad Hills, who also is the illustrator for this book. It is about a little dog, Rocket, who loves to play and just lie around, and he encounters a little bird who is very determined to teach him how to read. And he doesn't think he needs to read, so he goes off and plays. But the little bird continues to read out loud, and pretty soon Rocket wants to hear a little bit more about the story about Buster and his lost bones. The bird encourages little Rocket to learn his alphabet, and when the little bird flies off to the south for winter, little Rocket has a great time learning to spell, because the little bird gives him this bit of advice, is that all letters make up words. And so he is so busy during the winter time drawing different letters in the snow. And so by the time the little bird comes back and ready to have school, Rocket is ready to learn to read. And it is a beautiful story of the importance of reading, the importance of books, and the importance of sharing the love of books with each other. There. Oh, the last book in the universe is our middle school selection for Big Read. It is a book about a society, this dystopian society where it's very dismal because there is no knowledge shared. There are no books in this universe. And it's really about a young person's determination to go and visit his sister who is ill and undergoes some tremendous barriers in order to get to see his sister. It's a society in which it's violent. It is a society in which people don't share love as he does. He befriends an elderly person who has a special typewriter, and he is recording memories. And he tells Spaz, who is the main character of the book, how important it is to record our histories, to record what happened. And Spaz is very puzzled because he doesn't know what books are. He doesn't know, that they can pass on information, and really thinks that this Gummy, which is the elderly person, is just really just off his rocker. But they do establish a friendship, and Ryder does teach them the importance of learning to read and about recording their history and passing it on to others. At the very end, he is the last book in the universe, our main character, Spaz, and he carries that tradition that Ryder had left him. The theme for Fahrenheit 451, and really that is carried out in all the books, is that about individuality and conformity. For those of you who have not read Fahrenheit 451, I do encourage you all to read the books and to become very familiar with the books before our spring break camps. It deals with a society who has decided not to read anymore. And so as you see our society today, bookstores are closing, libraries attendance are shrinking, and so this is to me a very timely piece, even though this book wasn't written. It was written in the early 1950s. Ray Bradbury really, if he was alive today, he would see just some of the things that was in his little book, Fahrenheit 451. Some of the things that have come about. In the book, you'll see the main character in his home. he has parlor walls in which the television sets have become the wall, and how people are so in tune with what's happening in the soap operas of these parlor walls. And you see our television sets getting bigger. They used to be small, now they're getting bigger, and it's so evident in what was written with Ray Bradbury's 451. I do have and was able to encounter a graphic novel. This is for our middle school community camps. It is wonderfully illustrated by Tim Hamilton. This was one of the last projects that Ray Bradbury authorized, and the illustrations are remarkable. We have sort of tested out with different groups and of children, and it's fascinating in comic book form how Fahrenheit 451 really comes alive with the different themes noted. Each of the activity sheets and in the toolkit, you'll find different ways to have conversations with kids. It's real important to have authentic conversations with children and discussions about the book, about the vocabulary, about how they think the characters felt, how they would have felt if they were part of the story. And it's so important because what you are doing is that you're modeling what reading is all about. We have questions that pop up as we read, and we want to make sure that children get to practice that skill, that even though they may not understand everything, there's an opportunity to gain knowledge. We selected these books with a great love to go with Fahrenheit 451, the selection for the Dallas degree, and I hope that you and your kids enjoy it.
We also have two other books. This might be a good time before I go further. If you want to type in any chat questions, on your screen is a chat box. So please feel free now to type in any chat questions that you may have. I also just wanted to let you know that we have, through Library Live, some other books that we're featuring. A great book called Smoky Night, illustrated by David Diaz, who actually will be featured at the Latino Culture Center. And another great book that has some great illustrations. And then another cute book that is an Academy Award winner, and it's a fantastic flying book of Mr. Morris Less More. These are books that the Library Live program during the month of the Big Read will also be featuring through our Dallas Public Library partnership. One other thing that Mary failed to mention too was an Spanish-speaking book club that will also focus on the Fahrenheit 451 book with Avance and mothers that already have a book club. And so we were able to find a Spanish version of the Fahrenheit 451 novel, and so we will be featuring those books with the Avance partnership. And one third book I failed to mention, y'all all probably are familiar with, is Amazing Grace, which is a very cute book about a young girl aspiring and following her dreams, which also fits many of the themes of the Fahrenheit 451 book as well. So we'll take a second and see if we have any questions, which I see that we do. And so we are asked to go back to the activity slide of one of the WINGS activities. So we'll try to push back on our slideshow and see if we could showcase that. We had a sample activity that was in the slide that was supporting one of the images of the paper plate activity. And the activity with the WINGS that Mary actually showcased, we will also add that activity in the toolkit. So there were two images, I think, of the WINGS that were produced. And I think someone's asking to look at that activity slide again, and we're getting to it. The last book in the universe, there was a question around that book. And I'll maybe ask Mary to come up. It is a middle school appropriate book that we are recommending for the middle school target audience. If someone has a specific question around the last book in the universe, please add a little bit more in the chat, and we can talk about it a little more specifically. There was also some slides on academic connections of that book, math, reading, and science. And Mary maybe can talk a little bit more about that if that's something that y'all would be interested in as well. The other idea that we wanted to share with you too is to really keep activities simple. This is not meant to be a ongoing or an extraneous type of activity for the site. Many of the activities that you'll see in the toolkit and the curriculum are with very simple supplies. We wanted to make sure that we had items that maybe were everyday items that many of you already had access to, that you could be you can use at your sites for your family. So that was something that we wanted to kind of keep in mind as y'all are beginning to develop programming. So Mary maybe can talk maybe just a little bit more about the connections between the last book in the universe. We recommended 3, which was writing, science, and I think social studies. Let me see if I can pull that information while Mary can talk a little bit more.
The last book in the universe has a lot of themes that can be related to the different subject areas. It's really important for our students in middle school to feel confident, and elementary to feel confident in writing, and do allow that space that can be with no corrections, no red pencils, but that children are able to express what they feel about certain things. In the book, the last book in the universe, Ryder tells Spaz that the only real treasure is inside your head. Memories are better than diamonds, and nobody can steal them from you. And one of the activities you could do with children is to write down those memories that are better than diamonds, that come from their own histories, from their own memories, and to write that down in a very safe place. Like I said, it's so important that children feel safe about writing and being fully self-expressed as they're writing. What makes the writing successful is that that it's safe and that you have a conversation of the different themes or the different questions, so that the students can hear each other. You can facilitate that discussion, and so they're already sharing the memories that are more than diamonds and are able to ready to write. Some of the other ones may have some more research that could be done. In the last book in the universe, some of the society is genetically improved, and so you may want to talk about those themes and write a report about genetic programming. And Spaz is living in the world after the big shake, which means that something may be nuclear that really destroyed buildings, because people are in their storage shelters, if that's their home. And so you can explain the effect of nuclear waste and the concept of half-life, and even what's happened when a society is exposed to such disasters.
So a couple of questions that are being answered. We are working on getting that activity slide back, Mary, for the WINGS activities.
Okay.
So one of our chats asked the questions about age-appropriate activities for each book. For middle school and high school, are there activities for each age-appropriate group, middle school and high school?
For middle school and for high school, there are some activities that you could do that will be hands-on, but I do want to remind everyone that in middle school and in high school, we need to elevate the level of discussion and honest and authentic conversation we have with kids. We need to give them a framework for writing, and it's the discussion and the sharing of ideas that are so important. So the hands-on activity is a journal. The hands-on activity can be discussion among 2 or 3 students, and they can actually after writing in their journal, they can actually make a slide. So there's things for constructing different types of things, but really for middle school and for high school, the conversation and the writing are so important.
We want to remind everyone we will be emailing you the PowerPoint of today's presentation. I think that was it.
I don't know if there's any more specific questions. The education book that we will provide for you has, I'd say on average, about 24 activities that we've laid out between the Fahrenheit 451 and the 3 recommended item books that we've been showcasing here today. We have them each in age-appropriate levels. So every activity, every book that we've talked about will have supplemental activities for you to do. Even the take-home activity guide that we'll create is a resource for staff. And so some of those take-home items and activities that we recommend are activities that you can equally do at your center. So I think that's part of what we're offering, is that we have recommended maybe 2 to 3 lessons for each of the books that you see here today. Of course, acknowledging that the last book in the universe and the Fahrenheit books will have different levels of activities that will be recommended versus some of our younger students. The other thing that I think we wanted to make sure that we mentioned too is to showcase the work that you do that week. If there's an opportunity to invite parents and families to see if their journals or even some of the wing displays could be hung in the centers so that you can actually invite families and parents into your centers just to have an open house or see the actual work that they could produce. We would be interested in any photos that you take that week. Of course, our teams will be out in support and visiting your centers as well. If there's no more questions around the content, we would like to just make sure that you feel that you have a contact person that you'll be following up with as well. And you can always call this person with more specific questions, even around the activities that support the books that will be provided.
We do want you to remember we have several community partner locations out there. We're trying to get the slide up, having a bit of technical difficulty with one of the computers. But I think now you should be seeing some of our Big Thought contacts and remember who, as a matter of fact, just for the sake of better words, I'll mention some of our community sites that will be running a program during our spring break, such as Trinity River Mission, the Black Academy of Arts and Letters, Gospel Tabernacle in Pleasant Grove, Bath House Cultural Center, Avance, Vickery Meadow, Truly Missionary Baptist Church, West Dallas Community Centers, excuse me, Friendship West, Latino Cultural Center, Inspire, Tico Theater, and St. Mark AME Zion. And if you have any other questions, please remember, feel free to contact us via email or at the office. I have a question that says, how many backpacks will each site receive? I think a general answer for that, we will be addressing supplies and things that we will be providing to the site according to the number of students that you will be serving. Okay?
Okay. Great.
And that's for everyone that's listening for that question. So it will be according to the amount of students that you're serving. Erin?
Yes, so book connection and the backpack and many of the materials that we're making available are according to those confirmation numbers we've received. You should have received a letter from us giving you back the confirmation of attendees. So the backpack number, the poster number is one per site, but the backpack and the books are according to the numbers that you projected to us. And so those will be available. We're looking at the week of March 4th to have the actual kits available for pickup, which will have all the materials that we discussed. So I would identify maybe a person from each site that could come by the Big Thought office, and we'll have them all sorted and ready for pickup here at our location. And we're looking at the week of March 4th. If you can email.
Hi there.
Okay, great. That's clear.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So the items will be available for pickup the week of March 4th as opposed to February 28th?
Correct. Are there sites that need materials prior to that? If so, I think you let your contact person know, but most of the materials are being printed. If they're books, maybe that is something that we can make available. But the items, the toolkit, majority of those items will be available that week. But if you have a special need to review the books before then, let your contact know. We could possibly get those books in if they're in and make those available to you before March 4th.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
We're going to try to get the last slide up. I think most of our contacts sent out to the site a little template flyer, a little template that you could use as it relates to like a one-pager info or flyer type thing that you could give. It says, I love to read on that flyer. And it's a Word document that you could plug in information as it relates to your particular site and campus. We want to make sure everyone has already received that. And if you haven't, make sure you contact your, reach out to your contact, such as Jubilee and anyone who's at Mary Hernandez is your contact. I think Karen Harkey, Mary is your contact, and James Adams or Kia Westbrook and even Aaron Offord. If you have not received that in the email, let us know, and we'll get that little template, that little flyer to you right away. I think that's pretty much it, Aaron.
Okay. Thank you again for your time. Again, the conversation doesn't end today. Feel free to reach out and get more of your specific questions answered. The main exciting thing that we have are these books that we definitely want to make sure we get into the students and the families that you serve hands. So we will make all of these available to your sites, and we're excited about the whole week and appreciate you for sitting in to the webinar. Thanks again, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you, guys.